I got a good one.
Yeah.
Parenting, because you're a parent. Yeah. You're about to be a parent. I've never grown up.
He's still a kid.
I am a child.
You're a man child.
I don't know. I was wondering, it'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be.
Because I know I can see us doing a pod like when you become a dad and what that's like, sort of thing too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So okay. Who wants to lead?
It's gonna have to be Max.
Why?
Because you're the dad, man.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Hear2Listen podcast. It's me, Max, again, and I'm back with Leon.
Yo.
I'm back with Adam.
Hey there, man.
And I'm back with Jack.
Hello.
Sorry, Adam, I genuinely did not realise that you wasn't at the microphone then. So
I was creeping towards it. I was kind of prepared, but I did the sort of gymnastics pose to try and do it.
Just literally looked up and just see him dart back to the microphone. But yes, we're back. I missed out last week. So yeah, it feels like it's been a long time for me sitting in this room, and it looks like a completely different room. We have now got space to breathe. Boys, what's happened since I've been gone? Because this is looking very different.
We moved all of the stuff that we just piled into the room for no reason and just piled it into another room for no reason.
To be fair, I just walked in here one day and it was empty. I was like, oh, nice. Pod room's looking better.
I noticed when I went to the kitchen and realised that the kitchen is halved in size.
Yeah.
So hang on a minute, them blue barriers weren't there. Ah,
What's
that's
behind
where
them?
all the equipment.
The mess.
The mess.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm not gonna lie. Listening last week was that was horrible. I didn't like it.
Get a bit of FOMO.
FOMO. What's that?
Fear of missing out.
FOMO. I like it.
I heard of that.
Don't feel bad. I learned that 2 days ago.
No, well,
Oh,
there
really?
you go. I've learnt that today. I knew of the fear of missing out because that's always been something that, especially that I've experienced, but I think every kid, especially nowadays, I think it actually came on one of the Keep Doing podcasts that the team's been doing with the young people on program. Someone said about that, the whole reason, one of the young people said the whole reason why they actually got social media in the first place was because they started a new secondary school and they'd realised that everyone was using this platform or these platforms. They'd never used any, didn't want them, weren't interested, but the fear of missing out, FOMO.
Got them.
FOMO got
They
'em.
got 'em.
There we go. And it used to
everyone.
happen to me as a kid, actually, all the time. You ever like woke up not wanting to do anything, but then you know, or you see one of your mates walk past, or you hear that they're out. This is before all phones and stuff was the point of contact. But even though I didn't feel like going out, you'd still get up and go out because of FOMO. If only I knew FOMO.
A little bit
back
different.
then.
See, I'd wake up in the morning, go on my Xbox. Everyone's playing a game that I don't have. And they sound like they're having a good time. I'm just like, Mum, you got to get me this game. Everyone's got it. And then I get it, and then I wouldn't have that FOMO.
And you'd get it, you'd complete it in a day, and then ask for the next one.
Nah,
No.
not me.
Or if I'm sitting at home and I get a message on my phone saying, you're coming on the box.
Yeah.
And then I know there's a group of friends online, but I just can't convince Green to let me go on it. And I just know they're all playing it, having jokes. And I'm just sitting here watching something dead on telly, like, did a facial
Celebrity
expression.
datings.
Yeah, celebs got dating.
I reckon
Alright.
when you look at it, like just thinking just then of this FOMO that I've just become made aware of, or the terminology for it. So there's a different type of. I was just thinking back to something my son said yesterday. So again, he wanted to go to the skate park all day today. He's been going down there every day, every other day,
getting good.
if not every day, and he's doing some mad tricks. Like he's really, really progressing. His excuse for him to be able to be allowed out again all day, and this is like from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 7 at night, as his lunch and stuff. But anyway, we said, you got to come back today, you know, chill out, chill at home, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but I can't. What you don't understand is like, please don't shout at me. And this is his exact words. Please don't shout. But if I don't go down there for one day, I'm going to lose out what I've learned today because I've not fully mastered this next trick. And I'm so close to landing it. If I miss out a day, my mates are going to get it and I'm not. So that's almost a case of FOMO.
It is.
But it's with
Mate,
progression.
I've been there. I know exactly how he feels. I know exactly how he feels, like, especially when it's a new skate park as well and everyone's skating like different parts of it. Everyone's getting better. Like, you feel if you go on holiday, I remember like you go on holiday for a week and like you'd just like you'd get back and then like your friends would be like, oh yeah, I did this, look, and you get back and you're just like, no.
Yeah.
Why did I go to the Bahamas?
Yeah, I get that. But again, I never got it with. Well, I did do scootering, but I never got to a point where I was actually doing decent tricks. I was just riding the ramps.
I used to take my skateboard on every single holiday I went on when I was like a teenager, and we used to have to So you know, like the normal bit where they take your suitcase off, like once you're giving you tickets, and it like goes down the little, don't know what
conveyor
they
belt.
conveyor belt. That's it, and then it goes off down the hole. Like they wouldn't put a skateboard on that, so you'd have to go to a special part of the airport.
That's where my skis go.
Yeah, that's something like that. So to put your like, is it hazardous,
Oversized or something?
Yeah, awkward size items, and then we'd have to wait for it to always take extra long to come off the plane at the end. So this is how I used to overcome it, and I used to skate around the hotel every single morning, like before anyone was awake, just because I didn't want to get like I didn't want to lose any like skills or wanted to master the kickflip. That is where I mastered the kickflip in Menorca.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
That's commitment. That is. So if Mason said that to me, right, and he said, "Look," and I knew that's just a sign straight away that you're dedicated to the sport. You're dedicated to progression. You're dedicated to do better with that skill. So that I'd rate that. Although I could imagine standing, waiting in an airport or at the airport. What are we waiting for now? Skateboard.
Not gonna lie.
Flipping skateboard.
I wouldn't do it.
Skateboard.
Wouldn't do it.
But I had two little sisters. Like my parents would be looking after them, and then I could just go off in the
Even
morning.
worse, they had two young uns to take care of, and they had to wait for your skateboard. Fair play.
Yeah,
to
but
you,
when I
parents.
get off the plane, I don't want to stand there in the airport waiting for my bags. Normally, we do the thing where you take your luggage onto the plane, just so I have to miss that out. But if I'm standing there, not even waiting for my luggage, I'm waiting for your skateboard.
Very selfish.
Very selfish.
Very selfish.
Valuable hours wasted of some time.
Oh no, I wasn't saying Leon was being selfish. It's like, well, I suppose you could look at it as Leon being selfish.
He
I
was being
thinking
selfish.
of you being selfish.
No,
not waiting for
I'm
your
thinking
friend.
of the family.
Well, I also, when we went to Cornwall, right, my mum dropped me off at a skate park called Mount Hawke, because it was like, at the time, it was one of the best skate parks like in the UK. And she had to drive like an hour to drop me off. And then they went to the beach for a few hours and then come back to pick me up. But that leads us on to a good thing, because Jack, right now, you're not a parent.
So you'll never understand the
What you have to do.
sacrifice that we make as parents, or as parents would make.
I get it.
You
Leon on
do,
his high
yeah.
horse because he's got a, what is it, 8-month-old fetus? Max sitting over here with a couple of kids. You know, I get
I
it.
suppose you're not wrong.
So yeah, that is where we're leading on to parenthood. Now,
Actually,
obviously, I have nothing to portray here.
you can use your imagination. You've been
Yeah.
reading lately.
Well,
so
how
your
about the?
imagination's-
Sorry, Max.
Go on, that's
yeah,
fine.
just to help you out. What about? Have you ever thought about it?
I'd love to be a dad, not right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I would love to have like a little kid that you're bringing up, you know, teaching skills, investing your time into.
It's not just for Christmas.
So
Jack.
for you personally, Jack, what age would you say is a good age for you?
29 is probably the
How,
worst age
how old
possible.
are you now? do you mind
Nah,
telling the
29.
audience how old you are now?
Yeah, I'm 21.
21 now. So prime age. What time? What age?
29
29.
to 31.
It's weird. I used to say that. Ended up having kids at 21. Just happens.
It's how it goes, mate. It's
Just
how it
happens.
goes.
And I definitely had, and I can vouch for this, and this is something that I did actually take with me for many years even. I was going to say months, but I'd even say years, and I carried this sort of weight with me because I actually split up with my ex because she wanted to settle down. At the age of 21, I was not ready. Did not want to do that. I was 20 at the time, sorry. I was like, no, definitely not going to happen. But she was a few years older than me, and she's like, look, done all the party scenes, she wanted to settle down. So I'm like, no, we're going to have to go our separate ways. And we broke up, and it was a mutual sort of breakup, but it was still hard, and it was horrible. I remember tears and all that sort of stuff. Met Sarah, Jumping Jacks in Stevenage about a month later. About a month after that, found out she was pregnant. And genuinely, again, still in the mindset of not wanting kids, but something happened within my life, or not my life, but something happened to a member of the family, and it was Auntie Lisa, and she got diagnosed with leukemia. She's all right. She's recovered and through recovery and all that sort of stuff. It's a fair few years back, over 12 years ago. That's mad
mental, isn't
to
it?
think
That is mental.
So 12 years ago, found out that my auntie had leukemia, well, fit and healthy, and I thought, do you know what? You never know what's going to happen. And I was off the rails at this point. I was going out, party scenes, London, clubbing, all this sort of stuff, every weekend, living a high life, shall we say. And that just made me think, like, if something happens to me tomorrow, I've got a bun in the oven. That was my words. I've got a bun in the oven. How bad is that? But I thought there's something that can take my torch and carry it on a little bit of a legacy in me. I'm leaving something behind.
When I'm old and weak,
if I die,
they can look after me.
Basically, if I died, it was my mentality was if I died tomorrow, then I've got something to carry my name forward. That was literally it. Just turned out to be that we ended up getting on really, really well anyway. We've had ups and downs, rounds and flipping all the in-betweens. But yeah, 12 years later. Two kids and a wife.
Nice house and a boo.
And a receding hairline and no money in the bank and wrinkles across the forehead. Call me Gordon Ramsay now because they're just there. They're stuck. And that's just like, no, that's me. That's
Looking forward to it, Leon.
Yeah.
Genuinely would not change it for the world. And this is what I was going to say about the age thing. So I wasn't there ready at the age of 21. That was one of the biggest fears in that of like, oh, I'm too young. I've not got enough money in the bank. I didn't save the money when I should have saved it and blah, blah, blah. You know, things happen that change your mindset. Sometimes things happen that are not planned. But looking at the pros and cons, now I don't really know too much about the cons. Well, I do, and I don't, of having kids young. But no matter what age you are, I don't think you'll ever be. You can read all the books in the world. You can do as much research as you want. Nothing will prepare you mentally for having children. It just comes naturally, like literally. And what you'll find is, and you'll probably, if I sort of spoke to Kareen more so, not saying you don't read the books and stuff, but I know Sarah read Bibles, baby Bibles, right? And then you look at a baby Bible from 3 years ago, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different tips and tricks and stuff that you should and shouldn't be doing with your newborn baby. Like, why is that right now when it was wrong 3 years ago? Like, it does change.
So Kareen's got 2 books.
Are they called the baby Bible?
Something like that.
No, but same thing.
Yeah, it's just a big book about babies.
That's like the baby Bible. It was nice.
Different baby religion, you know.
Yeah.
Leon, just for the people listening, do you want to give a bit of context about where you're at, how far?
Oh yeah, so me and partner got about 4 weeks until we have our first baby. 4 weeks and 3 days from today. Yeah, so it's a bit mad, but yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I believe you when you say it.
Yeah.
As well, because I think we've all seen fathers before going, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's a kind of wildness in their eyes, like they're terrified kind of thing. But
Now I feel
You are quite calm, actually.
there's a sense of you've taken to it very well.
I think we're in a sort of good space. So like, I feel like I've always wanted kids anyway, but I was never in a rush to have them. So like, whenever I've been with Kareen like 4 years next week. Actually, 4 years tomorrow.
Wow. Oh, he's just realised.
Oh, no. 4 years tomorrow.
Hey, look, he's got baby on his mind. He's got baby on his mind.
January.
No, it doesn't matter. It gets worse when there's kids involved. Like, you forget an anniversary or anything like that, mate. That is it. Done it 3 or 4 times now. It's like, don't do that.
So yeah, now I can get a card on the way home for tomorrow.
No, don't make a stop from a petrol station. They just know. They know. Women know if you bought that bunch of flowers or that card from a petrol station. They just know. Like, I've tried that again many a times.
You wanted kids, though.
Yeah.
Like, recently, you said to me, you was like, look, if Kareen got pregnant, I'd actually be happy.
Yeah. So, and then I think so when I first got with her, she was just at the point where she was like, she felt like she was a bit young, maybe still to have her. Yeah, so she didn't feel like, not that she wasn't ready, but that she wasn't ready. So.
Yeah.
But then like she got to a point where she was like, oh yeah, I'm ready. Actually, we never really actually said it, but I was always at a point, well, when you're ready, we'll have one. Like, and then it just happened, and then now I feel like we're just in a good space. We've got everything prepared. But with the baby books, she's read one or 2 pages, and she was reading through it, and she was like, I pretty much already know this stuff. Like, so what am I going to learn from it? Like, it's just better if we just do it our way and just do it.
And it is mad. Like, people used to say to me, like, the mother's instinct, right? Their mother has carried that child for 9 months. But you will have the instinct too. So if anything's wrong, like for example, if you hear 100, you're in a kids play area, there's 100 kids on that kids Carter's place or whatever it's called, Kids World, and it's all screaming and blah blah blah. You'll be able to hear your kids cry out of 100 kids. Like, it's just something that a parent can do, right? It's crazy, but also gut feelings and stuff like that. And this is something that you can't learn and read from books. And like, you do get some people, we're talking about anxieties and stuff, like Sarah, as I said on the previous pods, that she's suffered with some severe sort of health anxieties and stuff like that. And actually, a lot of it stemmed from actually being pregnant or actually giving birth. So she had a lot of fear at the beginning, especially with Mason, a lot of anxieties, a lot of OCD that she picked up massively, because in her mind, if she didn't clean the house, kids are going to die. And that's mad to think. But if that's going on in your mind, yeah, it's mad. So it's going off tangent with the mental health stuff here again, but parenting, it's quite a daunting thing. And I think a lot of people out there do get worked up and get worried. You said about sort of Leon seems calm. I remember loving it. I think for a man, I can't speak for every man, but it's fairly laid back.
Oh, yeah.
It's fairly laid back. So I've always enjoyed like being childish and entertaining the kids. And I've always been, this one here next to me, for example, used to change his nappies, right? Just to paint a picture to the viewers, to the listeners. So Jack, yes, we are family. He's my younger brother. And I used to change this guy's nappies, right? So I've always been pretty much hands-on. Used to look after him from a young age. So I've always been like well-equipped to sort of look after kids. And I am, like you said at the beginning, Adam, did you call yourself a man-child, or I'm just making that up?
Before we started properly recording, but I would probably describe myself as some arrested development has occurred in my life.
I'm definitely a man-child, right? And I always am, and I'm always going to be. I love having fun and stuff. So I think that's why I enjoyed the thought, like you said, Jack, of having someone to sort of shape, mould and bring into this world and sort of like teach lessons, life lessons and stuff. It is amazing. And I love that element of it. And that's where I think you as well, like, male or female, boy or girl, it doesn't matter. You may in your mind have wanted or hoped for a certain gender, but do you know what? It doesn't. I've got one of each, and it doesn't matter what they are. It's wicked, man.
But yeah, like I said, it is easier. Well, like you're saying at the beginning, it is a lot easier for me being like not actually carrying a baby. Like it's for her, she's got to carry it around, so I feel like she's a lot more attached. Like she'll be like, oh, it's moving. But then like now she's at the point where it's just moving all the time, where she don't even tell me, and I just feel like oh yeah.
You think they're not just carrying it though, mate. They're feeding it. They are nurturing it. They're housing it and they're looking after it. Like I think you brought something up, Adam, on the previous pod. It was when me and Jack was talking about our mental health and that, and sometimes an escapism type thing would be to go chill in the bath and just like, not together obviously, but like,
sometimes.
But I said I'd lay in there for hours and until the water was cold, and you said it was very much womb-like,
yeah.
And that just flagged up just now, thinking about like, I can see why us as human beings would find comfort in that, because when we got brought into this world, we were covered, surrounded in water, in a womb, curled up. And I've often found myself in that position. I didn't want to say it.
We're in the bath.
Yeah, curled up. Like
curled up in a fetal position.
Basically falling asleep. Like dangerous. Do not try that at home. Falling asleep in a bath is dangerous. Like,
See, we had a really small bath, and the only way I could cover my whole body was to lay like that. So like, I'd either have to have my knees out and my shoulders out, or all my legs out and my shoulders in. But it was either one or the other. So I used to have to curl up and like lay on my side in the fetal position just to get a good soak in.
Jack
for a
is
little
currently
bit.
curling up now.
Yeah,
as we speak.
I wish the camera was here, 'cause I'm just giving a nice demonstration.
What it was, he didn't have a small bath. Oh, who silent it?
Oh my God.
Do you know that is
Papa
Ian. You wait till I see him.
Everyone sees him.
Yeah,
It's not. We didn't have a small bath. Jack's just really tall. That's what it is. So they had to get a giant bath just to accommodate Jack. Now
And it is paying.
I've never seen a bath like it. I wish I still lived there. Genuinely, it's huge.
And we've got a pillow in it.
Yeah. All right. That's enough.
Enough bath talk.
I wanted to go back a little bit to the baby books that you were talking about as well. And the if you approach it from an anxious point of view, I imagine that you will absorb. I'm maybe talking about Sarah, absorb loads of information about what to expect. Surely it's that much more shocking when things don't go the way the book said that it would go, because you proposed this idea of the opposite, of like, you just got to go with it. You just
Well, yeah.
Doesn't that create more anxiety if like it ain't following the plan? What's going on?
Well, it does. I don't know if Sarah ever followed a plan. These books that Sarah used to read, obviously, I don't doubt for a second there was plans within them, and these baby classes groups, some other groups that she used to go to, I don't doubt for a second there were plans and tips and stuff within them. Other than just lists of baby names that you could choose from. There's all sorts. It was like, that's why they called it the Bible. It was from start to finish, boom. But for example, it would say, do not, and this is going back 12 years, do not put the baby at the end of the cot. So the feet had to be closer to the bottom of the cot.
Yeah.
So you can leave more space up by the head. That literally got flipped round, complete opposite, a year later, 2 years later, or from when Sarah's mum was having kids. It's back to how it used to be. And it's like, all right, okay, so I get it that stuff happens, things change, science evolves and all this sort of stuff, right? But what you're going to learn in a book, like you will know if your baby's not right. You might have certain fears that something might happen and you might think, oh my God, are they right? They moved for ages and blah, blah, blah. Like nothing's going to tell you in a book what to do in that situation. It's like nothing's going to tell you how to act. Like you'll have a gut instinct. You'll have a natural human reaction to know what to do, when to do it. If you think and you feel there's something not right, chances are something's not right. Like, and I know people get it wrong, and this is going on to the health things. Like someone might really be going through some sort of health anxieties or some sort of mental health illness, disorder, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not joking, right? I've been a little bit involved with this to some extent, and I remember not for massive amounts of time, but I'd often stand above the cart and look, and it'd be fairly dark in the room. And then I'd start to freak out thinking they weren't breathing, right? So then I'd put my head really close. By the time I left it, I'd end up waking the baby up. Do you know what I mean? Because I was that paranoid that stopped breathing or something. So I know your mind can play tricks and stuff. But yeah, they just... Mia broke her arm and she didn't scream. Like she was in the bedroom with Mason on his shoulders. This was a few years back now. Heard a fall, heard a crash. 5 minutes after I told him to get down because someone was going to get hurt. And Mason went to put her down, apparently, nice and calmly, he said. And she fell forward, landed on her arm, and she come in holding her wrist. She wasn't crying any differently. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't like, I broke my arm. She's only about 7 years old. The look on her face, I could tell the shape of her crying, her mouth shape when she was crying. I'd never seen that before. I looked at her arm, couldn't see that it was broken. I said, she's broke her arm. And she was holding it there. As soon as I took her hand away, her arm just went floppy. Oh. And literally I was holding on to this broken arm. But I knew from the look on her face, like I said, you can hear your child's cry out of a group of 100. It's just something within you, like it comes naturally. They didn't have these books years ago. Like they didn't. You don't need them. You don't need to swamp yourself with all that stuff. You don't need to stress about money. Obviously you need it, and you need to have some sort of stability and a bit of foundation created when you're going into this. But that can happen from the time that you find out that you're going to be a parent, so 9 months or 6 months before, 7 months before, whatever it is. And that's what some guy said to me, like it did, nothing will ever prepare anybody, no matter how old you are. You can wait until you're 45, 50 thinking, I'm more experienced now, I'll be able to master parenting easier. That's rubbish. It doesn't matter how, obviously, if you're really young, life skills come in handy, obviously. Yeah. So you're not going to have as many life experiences being younger, but yeah, it's just one of those things.
I think, it's more like now. So I just think like going forward, it's more of the example I'm going to have to like constantly set. So like if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to have to pick myself back up and get moving. Or like, let's say we had a little scare in the company earlier this week. Like let's say if I lost my job or whatever, I'd have to get back out there, pick myself back up, because I'd need to show them that you can just do it. Like, you just have to get out there and do it.
It also gives you a purpose to do it even more than what it would if you didn't have that person to try and look after and fend for and support. Because if you didn't, that's how a lot of people can just submerge in that and dwell in self-pity. You've got a reason, not just yourself or your queen, you've got another life to support. So that gives you that get up and go.
Bit of driving force behind it.
100%, 100%. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have kids. I'm not saying I would have killed myself or anything like that, that's deep, but I definitely would not be in the job that I'm in. I'd probably still be plastering, putting muck up walls. And it
Some
sounds
wreckhead.
Like, yeah, I was on a bad path, and it did. I'm not saying go and have kids, it will sort you out, but I was definitely on a one-way path to Nowheresville, if you want to call it. And although I had that sort of light bulb moment when Lisa got diagnosed, it was actually a blessing that it happened in some ways, and it gave me the initial sort of reaction to go, actually, do you know what, I'm doing this? And if I didn't, and I remember I must have been really bad at the time, because my dad said to me, and bearing in mind most parents find out their kids were having kids, if at that, I don't know, it's not that young, I suppose, 21, but I was expecting him to go a little bit AWOL, just for the simple fact that I hadn't known Sarah that long. And he was like, if you don't want to do it because you're struggling, like, I will help you, support you, you can stay here, blah, blah, blah. He was so supportive. And I think in the back of his mind, he knew that if I didn't have kids at the age I did, I'd end up like a lot of the other people I used to hang about with, still sitting around the same table in the same, well, not now because of COVID and that, but still doing the same stuff, same places, same people. I've moved on, and I have the kids and the family to thank for that, I think.
I'm interested in that idea, the sort of like it lights a fire under you, you know, it gives you kind of a bit of extra, but that's not always the case.
Burns you at times as well, Adam. It doesn't.
But I'm wondering if you can, like, look at your own sort of friend network, and maybe we can ask Jack this as well, around people that are younger that have been faced with being a parent but have completely dropped the ball, you know, and I'm wondering what the difference is between someone who's massively motivated because you're a parent and the others that, you know, we all know deadbeat dads as they're called, you know, those, you know, what is that difference?
I don't know. I've got mates that have lost their kids. I've got mates that have got their kids taken off and they've got them back and then taken them off them. They call them mates because they're people I used to knock about with and I grew up with, but I don't see them anymore. But you hear through social media, you hear from other people. And these
just not being ready?
Just I don't know, mate. Whether it's, you could dig at things, and the work that we do, we often know that obviously you've got to dig deep to find out where it all actually stems from with all of our experiences and stuff. You could look at it and go, oh, did they have the support that we had as young kids? Did their dad say to them, oh, you can stay, you can do this, you can do that, blah, blah, blah. Did they want to have kids in the first place?
There's a lot of things.
So many different elements. There's so many different elements.
I feel like sometimes it can be the mums as well. So a girl's got pregnant and now she thinks that's an excuse now to pretty much inflict control on her partner. So like, oh,
using
now
the children's
you can't go out
weapons.
no more. You can't do this. You got kids now, so you can't do. Like, you have to just pretty much stay in and like do dad stuff and like mature.
Can't handle it.
So like when you say mature, like you mean not go see my friends, not do X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. But if they were given more of an option to be able to just do both, so go out, see friends and still be a dad, like instead of every time they wanted to do something for themselves, it's a whole clash.
Yeah.
I could see.
It's finding a balance.
Yeah. But then also like being young and inexperienced in relationships, the mum and the dad might not be experienced in relationships.
Glad you said that, Leon, though, because that is something that definitely got in the way of my relationship. So we were young, having kids, like Sarah carrying the child. She stopped smoking, she stopped drinking, she done everything that a female would be expected to do to make sure that baby had the most healthy start in life.
Yep.
So she'd done that, cold turkey. She was just as bad as I was back in the day with the alcohol and the going out and the party scenes and stuff like that. So her argument was, why are you still allowed to go out and do this when I can't? Which is fair enough. But then you try telling someone who's 21, you ain't going out. You're not going to that drum and bass rave up in London no more. You're not doing any of this. You've got a kid on the way. It took me the 9 months. So me and Sarah was on and off. The build up to her actually having Mason, us having Mason, and her giving birth was horrible. Like, we were splitting up. I was under the influence 9 times out of 10, like let's say over 50% of the week. I was out at the pub.
Yep.
After 5-a-side football, back to the pub. Friday night to the pub, and then some days then I won't come back to early hours in the morning. So you put yourself in a female's point of view. No matter how experienced you are in life, you're not going to like that. Especially when your hormones are all over the place, you are not going to like that. So that's just that creates negativity straight away. So we had it. I suppose if you were a little bit more had a bit more life experience in relationships, then maybe it wouldn't be as bad. It's taken us, so I'm now at a point, because I stopped socialising. I let that, even with the advice that my stepdad once gave me. I will tell you what it was in a bit. It's a bit jokes, but it's funny, and a lot of people will laugh from it, but a lot of people will be upset.
Is this my dad?
Yeah.
Kevin.
But no,
What advice?
6-7 years I just cut off, and I would go out on special occasions, but I've lost a big social group because of that. Not online social platforms, I mean my friends that I used to call friends, and people I used to hook up with on a daily, every other day, whether it was on phone, social media or in person. And the thing is, as time goes on, when you become a parent, you sacrifice, but you make sacrifices to better, one, your family, but yourself as well.
Yep.
And I've cut away a lot of ties. We're talking about getting rid of toxic people, and on the podcast with Hannah, and we're saying sometimes you've got to remove yourself away from certain environments and certain people and all this sort of stuff. I done that, but I done it to a next level where I didn't have no social life. I was family guy. That's it. That's all I cared about. All I done. I go to work. I come back. I spend time with the kids. Take them to the park. Obviously, Sarah had a.
So Max, before you sort of gave your friendship group up, as you say, and sort of thing, would you say that you knew that they were bad influences on you?
Nah. And I'm glad you said this, because it makes me sound like I just ditched them.
Yeah.
I didn't. So what happens, Leon, and this may happen to you, and it's probably, I reckon this has happened to a lot of parents out there, a lot of blokes out there, maybe females as well. But you stop attending. So I was going out on special occasions, and then it gets to a point where something comes up and you can't, or you feel like you can't, you've had a late night, you've had a sleepless night, your kids have been up, because I was doing night feeds and stuff because of Sarah's condition or stuff that she was experiencing. I was very hands-on. I was doing night feeds, all that sort of stuff. Some nights I just didn't want to go and party. And that started happening more and more. So then they start getting peed off. And those are my mates that wanted to keep going out. Some of them had kids, people that didn't really care about it and just split up with their missus as soon as they found out and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I just started getting negative comments or messages from my mates and that. People that didn't have kids going, oh, you're such a sellout. I'm not even going to bother texting you no more. Can't believe you're not going to come out. Why did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And it went on and on and on. And I remember Kev, my stepdad, saying to me, look, this will happen. Like, it's going to happen. You've got, 30 odd mates at the minute? He goes, they'll go down to 5. And they did within about a year, 2 years. My social group then went down to 5. Then they just stopped texting you, mate. They just stopped Messenger. So it wasn't that I left them. I just didn't show up as much. They didn't like it, or certain few of them didn't. And then you don't get accepted into the WhatsApp group chats no more, because even when I did, work, come on boys, throughout summer, it's so busy. I was getting asked to go raving and stuff, and even like 4 years ago, so the kids have grown up a fair bit, I still get negative stuff from my mates. They're like, why don't you want to come to that 3-day festival? It's like, we've got 800 people out on programme. Like, we're overseeing a cohort of 800 young people at the minute. We've got another 150 going out next week. Can't really go away, because if I get a call from one of the staff members saying, I can't come in tomorrow, or so-and-so's done this, I was like, this is our work. Our work is summer. So I'm not going to, what was that last festival? Base Fest, that was the one.
I feel like, because I feel like I've gone through a similar process, but without the pressure of kids. So like, I used to go out all the time. Like now, like just from like probably the last 3 or 4 years, I've completely stopped going out every weekend, stuff like that. But that's just,
you've settled down. You and Crean, you got to a point in your relationship before even kids were on the horizon, and you found that you started thinking about moving, and all that stuff has always been there. So you're at a point where you're settling down. Before
the bigger picture was like, actually, what do I want to do, and what do I want to be like in like 5 years' time? Do I want to be happy, settled down, like, or do I still want to be sort of going out in the same places? Not really. That's not. But it's weird what you say, because like what we was talking at the beginning is the FOMO. That FOMO slowly disappears, and you realise that you're just not missing out on anything.
Exactly.
You literally think about what's happening. The same people are going out. They're going to the same place. They're probably going to sit in the same chairs.
That's it. Oh, how many pubs have you walked in though, a year later, and there's still the same group at the same bar? It's like, boys, what are you doing with your lives then? Not a lot. Like, it's been 2 years or whatever. You're still there.
And I could not be in that scene, and I could go back there in 2 years' time, and I can still see the same groups of people. Yet some of the faces might have changed, but I'd still see the similar person that would just replace them, or like the same group with like one of those people that used to see. Like,
or you see that group of people, but they've evolved a bit. They've lost a few of the older ones, but they've got a few younger ones in the mix now, and they bring some of them in because they want to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate,
100%. You can't tell someone that's stuck in that loop. I call it a loop. People,
mate, every town's got it.
Every town's got it. Like, I don't doubt for a second, but it is a loop. You're stuck in a time warp, and it's like you're going to be doing that until you're 60, 70, until you're retired, just moaning. Why don't you just get yourself a bit of podcast equipment and do it for a little bit of a hobby? Just run and get paid for it.
Literally.
Sit at a bar, spending money, eating dirty peanuts that no one's washed their hands before they put their hands in them. Do you know what I mean? It's just not my scene.
I mean, one of my sort of favourite topics is about taking responsibility, and it just sounds like there's those that take the responsibility and those that kind of avoid it. Maybe they feel ill-equipped to take the responsibility, but you know, with you, Leon, it's like, okay, I'm going to be a dad. There's, you know, thinking about jobs, things like that, making sure, you know, that taking responsibility through your life, I think alleviates a lot of any of the fears that people might have. I always think that there's a scale between responsibility and fear. For example, I was doing something this week where it was like icebreaker type stuff. And I was thinking immediately, Max will do that. Max will do the icebreaker. I'm just going to push it on someone else because of my own fears about leading groups and icebreakers. The solution to that is to take responsibility for it and learn about icebreakers, or do a couple of practice runs or whatever. So going back to being a parent, it just seems like something that people obviously don't get an opportunity to do a practice run, as it were, but there's so much fear there that the instinct to go back to the old ways or continue with the mad partying or whatever can seem like very tempting. But actually the solution is in the I'm going to be a dad. Here I am. This is a thing I've got to do. I've got responsibilities. I've got bills to pay, that kind of thing. Would you say that was your experience versus the guys that we talked about that maybe run away from it, is simply feeling ill-equipped to take on the responsibility?
Could be. Again, I can't answer it, man. Everyone's different.
Also, so going back to the fear of missing out, so like if your all friends are out, just thinking, I'm just going to go out, innit? I'm just going to go out, carry on living my life, and then they're going to be all right. I'll be there for them tomorrow, but then you're hungover, so you're not really there for them. Or I just feel like, I don't know. It's a tough one.
I can't answer your question, Adam, just because I think with me, everyone's wired different, aren't we? And everyone's been brought up different and conditioned in a way that no one's going to be the same, really. Even from the same household, you're going to have different personalities and all the rest of it when you start digging deep. But it's just, I don't know, we said about earlier, the elements, when you could just pick apart so many different aspects to why someone would make that decision to run away or to face it. Or it could be the fear of I can't do this. I've got no support. Self-belief, overwhelmed. It could be a number of different things. It literally.
If anyone's listening and has been through it, by all means, come on, because this is where I'm at. I'm curious. I kind of want to know. I'm not judging them for their choices. I feel like there's reasons behind everything, and it would be interesting to kind of get that reason behind that as well. That's kind of where I'm sort of going to. Yeah. I'm asking guys that, obviously, you're good at taking responsibility. You are not one of those people, but I'm intrigued about the other side of things. I did want to go back to the Kevin advice that you said everyone would laugh
Do you know
about.
what? I was that's mad. I was literally...
Are we on a wavelength?
No,
I think we are
that's
sometimes.
Mad.
I think we are.
I genuinely, I was looking at him again. Do I say it? Do I not? Do I say it? And then I generally
thought... we might have to cut it out.
I generally thought, I'll just put it right at the end. But basically what he said...
It's the same advice he gave me.
He was like, Max, I'm going to give you a bit of advice. He said, get with a woman. He goes, you settle down. You have kids. He goes, that woman will make it her goal to change you and shape you to the man that she wants you to become. And how will she do that? She'll stop you from going out and seeing your friends. She'll stop you from having fun. She'll even try and stop you from taking part in your favourite hobbies, whether that's gym, Leon, or skateboard. Has it happened to you yet? Yeah. And me? Yeah.
Skateboarding.
Yeah. Right, so they'll do all this sort of stuff. And then a couple of years go by or whatever. It didn't say a time period, but they've moulded and shaped you to this man they want you to be. And then they leave you. Why do they leave you? Because you're not the man you used to be. so you made me this way. You're not the guy I fell in love
boring.
with. Do you know what? And a female could say it about the man. The man could try to mould and shape the female. But it was just a little funny joke that I really listened to him deeply, thinking this is going to be amazing. And he just come out with that at the end. I was like, cheers, mate.
I can kind of see where he's coming from. I believe in partnerships helping you realise your potential, whether they are relationships, whether they're friendships. I've had relationships in the past where I ran away from, but if I would have stayed with it, I probably would have got a lot more out of it. For example, there was one girl that was like constantly angry with me. So it was all very mummy issues. Mum was angry with me, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of transference going on. So I bottled it, but I could have had an opportunity to negotiate that, figure it out, communicate it, say about what my needs are, suggest I'm not trying to change you, but this is the effect that it's having on me, and then discuss if it's possible going forward. That kind of thing. I don't know.
No, but how many people try discussing it and planning it out? Because that's something that me and Sarah didn't do for years and years and years and years. And it was actually Mum. She kept saying, you need to just write down what you like, what you don't like in this relationship, have a chat about it. Try and move forward, rah, rah, rah. Do you know what? I bet it works out wicked for a lot of people that would actually do it, but actually getting someone to do that and without that creating a massive argument in itself. But what, you want me to write down a list of everything that really annoys me about, right, hold on a minute. No, it wasn't like that, but it took us a couple of years to actually sit down and discuss it. And look, we've even broke up, it was 2 years ago? We had a year and a half separated. Mason was 10, 11 nearly. And me was 8. So yeah, it's not been smooth. It pushes and will test any relationship. But it's
don't you
easy
gain
to run.
from that?
You do.
Yeah, 100%.
If you stick with it. What I found when we had that year gap, I met other people. It wasn't my. I'm not going to discuss this actually live, but yeah, we took a break. It was sort of like a mutual sort of thing, if you want to look at it like that way.
We was on a break.
We both went off and done our own things, shall we say, and within that year and a half, 6, 7 people that I met, and I'm just saying, like, not saying everyone's the same, because I've just said that in a different sentence earlier, that we're all different, but actually relationships are the same. They may be different people, they may look different, but it all comes down to the same stuff. Like it's all about sacrifice. What's it called? When you work
Compromise.
Compromisation, Jack. Well done. Yeah,
That's not a word, but the first one was.
It is now. Compromisation. Max made it up. Compromising. I like the sound of compromising.
We've got a laptop. We can look that up.
Look it up.
I like
So for me, I'd say I'd had like sort of girlfriends like up until like probably like 23, and I had like 2 relationships. For me, that was like one of the most emotional roller coasters I've ever had, and it was just like a very stressful relationship for me.
I think we spoke about that on program, didn't we? When
Yeah,
we shared a room
and
together.
like, And now when I look back, maybe I was in the wrong, like, and maybe she was in the wrong as well. But like that taught me so many lessons that when I took into like the relationship I got with Corrine, it gave me like an idea of what I wanted. So when I did meet Corrine, and like I felt like she just had the similar aura to me. She's just a bit more chilled out, like doesn't really worry about anything. Like, so we can both just chill out. We can sit in a room together. We can spend an evening. We can spend an evening chatting. Spend an evening where we don't even talk to each other, but we're just there. So like, it just doesn't really matter. So I feel like I learned what I will not put up with, sort of type thing. And like now I just feel like but I feel like she had a similar situation to what I did. Yeah. So then I feel like now we've so it was almost like previous relationships definitely were lessons to where we are now. And now I just feel like we're so good, like in a good place in a minute. Touch wood, as I'm changing.
I also appreciate that there's an aspect of you. There are times to leave relationships. I also appreciate that. I was suggesting earlier that if you stick with it, blah blah blah. But I also think that there's limits to that as well. Where if it's like unhealthy and you're suffering, then maybe that there's no amount of learning that maybe can be reached. Then off you go and try. And then, like you say, Leon, like take your previous and work it into your future. Really about where your barometers are and where your needs are, I guess, and what you might require from the next partner. I wanted to ask one thing, actually. This is mainly for Max, is what has being a parent taught you?
So again,
what hasn't it taught you?
We've been here, what we got left on this part, I mean, I could talk for hours. There's loads of different things it's taught me, but I'd say I've learned more about parenting and the skills that I can use within parenting from this job more so, I'd say. Just from the little training bits that we've done. We was talking about safety of language earlier before this pod. Just stuff like that. I mean, parenting's just taught resilience. You could go through all the skills that we promote, right? Parenting has taught me more, and it just added value and evolved the skills that I already had massively. It's made me realise that obviously, kids are expensive, massively. You need to have stability, and you can't sort of like, there's so much stuff.
Consistency, I suppose.
Yeah,
I can imagine. It's just teach every day is a lesson.
Leon, you've just taken the words out. Every day is a lesson, and you can never stop learning from parenting, because when you get through one phase, it's on to the next. It's like going phase 1 program, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Yeah, every phase is different.
Well, you're creating an adult. Like,
and what happens is like you see that, but then you don't see it happen. So you just, what I would say to any parents out there, and this is something that I often got told, but I often or not just brushed it off, right? And this is God's honest truth. So many people said this: savor and enjoy the early days, because as stressful as they can be, as many late nights and sleepless nights as you can have, as many dirty nappies you've chucked in the bin, as much crap you've got on your hands, whatever, all the negative things that you could look at from parenting, right? It doesn't matter. They come out, right? They're born, they're a babe, they can't do anything. Within, I'm not even joking, like 3 years goes like that. Like literally, boom, like that. And before you know it, they're starting school. And I had parents come up to me and goes, just enjoy it. Just make sure you enjoy it. It goes so quick. And Mason's at secondary school. Mia's going up or moving up to middle school when they actually get to go back. And it doesn't seem that long ago that I was still picking them up and walking down the street. And
even for me, like, I remember meeting Mason and Mia when I first started working for Hear2Listen, and they're like, 4 or 5 years younger. But to them, that's a third of their life almost. Like,
it's mental. It is crazy.
I remember sitting in the car park at the hospital, 9 years old, being an uncle. Like, I'm an uncle at 9 years old. And I'm 21 now. What's going on?
And I can see now, he's at the age and he's knocking around, like he's at the skate park. I went down there to take some drinks and that down there for him. There's him, there's 4 of his mates. He's mixing with teenagers and stuff. He's there. He's 12 years old, 1 more year, he's a teen anyway. But kids, and it's only going to get faster from when we was kids, from when you was kids, when everyone, the listeners, like, it's changed over the years. And because children have got access to so much more, they evolve and grow up so much quicker. So what is mentally now, 12 years old, I'd say mentally he's like 17, 18. It's crazy. And again, she's 9. I'd say mentally she's at like a 12, 13-year-old or whatever. I don't know. It's just scary for her.
Yeah.
Just on that, Leon, I was wondering, like, modern times, you know, what kind of thoughts have you got coming up about being a parent in the, you know, a very different life perhaps as to what you grew up with social media, with phones, with tech, all that sort of stuff. Have you given any thought to that?
Yeah, so I suppose as things actually gets to certain ages, we're probably going to have to say, like, internet safety and stuff like that. But my ultimate goal is, as long as we can teach what's right and wrong, and like,
Morals and values.
Yeah, like, I don't know, wherever she ends up, long as she's happy. I can probably regret saying that, but
No, the thing is, it's right.
so long as, like, she knows right from wrong, she's not a bully or and like,
Not a bully.
yeah, well, that's
Just
not
not
what
a
you
horrible
want.
kid. You just don't want to be horrible.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
100%.
You couldn't raise a horrible kid,
And
man.
that's
You
something
couldn't.
else that Hannah said on that podcast. She was like, when your kid first goes for their very first play date, right? So Sarah will vouch for this, and you like know my kids, but you two, Adam and Leon, have probably seen the best side. You've probably seen a little bit of agginess, but Jack's definitely seen the agginess that they can provide.
The little demon.
But sending them out, their first play date, they go to school and they got this play date and that rah. We never, ever had any parents say anything negative. And it got to the point, right, me and Sarah, you can ask her, we was like, do you think they're lying? I think they've been playing up. But genuinely, our kids, and this made us feel so good, because when they need to be, so at school, their reports, Mason now, he gets in a little bit of bother for not listening, this, that and the other, but whether it's people's houses, they went around to play, after school clubs or whatever it was, family members, they'd come back with praises being sung about them. You two have done an amazing job. We even had, I said to you guys the other day, when the school asked Sarah to do a report on how do we get our kids to eat healthy food, like we used to send them in with packed lunch, like carrot sticks, tomatoes. We just done it from an early age and made like it was just food to them.
But I feel like you eat that as well. So
Yeah.
you set the example.
True.
So
There you
like-
go. So from the beginning, the foundation.
Like,
is set.
because you're doing it, they see you doing it. They just don't see it as abnormal to eat healthy.
Max, did you make that decision, or did you eat healthy since you was a kid?
No, I've always been a lover of rabbit food, like salad, and just I've gone more off salad now as I'm older. I used to love, like, Mum used to make bowls of salad, and I used to have like, bread with salad and make salad sandwiches. I used to love them as a kid, but yeah, with them they just did it. But it's like you always doubt, and this is what Hannah said. You're always fearful of what they're going to say, because once you let them out into the world or at someone else's house and you're not there,
Because they represent you?
they do. And that's why people come back and go, they're a credit to your family. They're a credit to you two. That's what you say. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, what are you actually trying to say? Like, you expected them to come round and start graffitiing your walls because I've got tattoos on my neck?
Ah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? And being a young parent, again, this is something else. If you are a young parent, do not worry about the eyes you get, the evil eyes on the playground. Me and my friend of mine that had a kid at the same time, we were the youngest parents on the playground. And for the first year, I've never felt so intimidated in all my life. The evils I used to get. I used to go in, bearing in mind I was plastering at the time. My clothes used to be covered in dust and plaster 9 times out of 10. If not, I'm just wearing sort of trendy, towny clothes, as they'd call them, or people used to call them.
Towny, that was an old name, wasn't it?
Yeah, towny, that is an old name, showing me age. But the people in suits and people that, not that they weren't all in suits, but they used to look at me in a way that, whether it was just me being a little bit paranoid,
Because you don't know really.
you don't know what they're
thinking.
no,
Okay.
but you can sense and you get that gut feeling. And the fact that people had cliques and little groups on the playground, and I've never, so 8 years I've been going to the school, the primary school, I've not got my clique. I talk to anybody. Like, you know me, I will not go and stand with a specific group. I've got my spot. If people want to come and talk to me, they'll talk to me. But I go there to drop the kids off and to pick them up. I don't go there for a social thing. But the evils and how cliquey it was, honestly, used to come back, and when Sarah said that she felt the same sort of thing, it's like, again, we're really young. We was 21 at the time. Most of these parents were like late 30s, 40s, some of them a bit older. I now look at that and I go into those schools, especially now, because they're even older, and I'm just not as young as I
You're
was.
probably where they were 10 years ago.
But from the beginning, so just to paint a picture, when it come to Father's Day, they let you go into the school. They'll cook you a bacon sarnie on a barbecue, and then you get to spend an hour with your son and look around their work, and then you get an hour in a playground. And me and this other lad, we was busting stuff up in the playground, not breaking it, but we was like football tricks. We had the balls out, we had the hula hoops out. All the other parents standing around watching. And there's us like running around with all these kids having fun. And they're looking at us with envy because they can't do it anymore, like having that much fun.
Don't have it in them.
They didn't.
Stay young.
That's how work as well comes into that, I feel.
But now I'm in the job that I'm in, and there people know, whether they found out through social media or through talking for me, I now walk onto that playground and I don't care what I'm dressed in, whether it's a flat cap, whether it's tracksuit bottoms, whether it's dirty clothes that I've been building in the back garden, dirty hands. I walk in there with pride going, one, I don't care what you do. Two, like, you used to look down on me, or potentially, and I know some of them definitely did. And I walk in there with my head held high now going, I got a wicked job, love my job, and look, I can still run around and play football with the kids. What are you saying?
Sounds like another lesson that being a parent has taught you. I think we need to wrap up soon.
Yeah. Before you do, Adam, sorry, can I throw it over to you? Because you're the only one that hasn't spoke yet. And I look as you as like almost being like the freest person here, other than Jack. So like, as in, you can pretty much do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you don't have kids. I don't know, is it maybe something that you thought of, or?
There's a certain setup that's needed for you to have children, which is a sustainable relationship, which I've never really
Not
had.
always.
Okay, true. So in terms of the desire to have children, not really. I think there's a sense of paternal desire. You've talked about, I want to have children. I want to have children. You know, Jack and Leon have said that. I'm not against it, but I've not had the desire. I feel like there should be something in the middle of your chest somewhere, this feeling that you get where you might want to have children. I haven't really had that. And I wonder if some of that might be influenced by being in a relationship. You know, maybe it introduces the idea, and if you love someone, maybe it puts a bit of that in you as well. So I think because my relationships tend to be fairly short and sort of fairly far between, there was not really a opportunity to generate that feeling, I suppose, with someone. But I've also heard people say, I really want kids. I can definitely not feel that. But there's a little bit, which is what I wrote down, there's a bit of concern about that, where I am the last of my lineage. Max, you talked about earlier about, you know, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? After my lineage, if I don't have children, then it kind of dies. There isn't any other, my second name's Payne. There isn't any other Paynes out there.
That's such a cool second name as well.
I don't think it was. It's haunted my entire life. Imagine being at school with your second name Payne in the...
To be fair, I've got a friend with a surname called Payne as well. So
Has it got an E on the end?
It does, yeah.
Mine doesn't.
Oh,
Unique.
Okay.
When we was at Help to Mind,
that.
the students are like, what, your name's Max, and his second name's Max Payne. They joined us together.
But there's like, I actually really like being around. Say my sister's had a kid recently, and I love that. I kind of slightly live vicariously through them. I went around my best mates at the weekend, and I hadn't seen his children for maybe 6 months, pandemic and all that sort of stuff. And it was lovely to see him again, and he remembered me and ran over and gave me a hug and all that sort of stuff. I love all that. That's great. And kind of you alluded to it as well, Max, about like the youthful side and being young, and it brings that out in me. I'm quite... So I'll say mature, and I find it a bit more difficult to access my child side, but blooming heck, it comes out when I'm around children, and I welcome that. I like that.
Okay,
it's
on
really
that
nice.
then, I want to test you then, because that's just brought something up for me. Would you test it to the point that, say, you're at a park, there's 10 parents, women, blokes, whatever, with their kids, and they're in their little groups and stuff, sitting there reading or just chatting while the kids play. I'm at the park with the kids, and sometimes they'll have their friends with them. Like, I used to walk to the end of our road with Mason and me. I'd be with Mason and me to begin with, and by the time I got to the end of the road, I'd have like 6, 7 of their mates tagged along. So we walked down the park, but I was that parent
Yeah, I bet.
chasing the kids around the park with a football, an airflow. An airflow, it wasn't a basketball or a solid football, it was an air floater. Right? So it didn't hurt, but I was pinging it at the back of their heads. And like, Mason was only a toddler at the time, but it hit him in the back of the head. He'd fall forward, get up and run around, but loving life. And then we'd play like cops and robbers, but I'm not just watching, I'm playing. Right? Yeah. Would you play? Would that side of
Funnily enough, I got roped into a game of hide and seek the other day.
Yes, there we go.
And believe me, there was a resistance. I was aware of like, I don't know, that feels a bit weird, feels a bit awkward. And then all of a sudden I was doing it and loving it. Do you know what I mean? I was finding the best hiding spaces around the back garden, and nearly broke my leg trying to get into one particular place. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like I need a bit of a push, whereas Max, I think you'd just be there. Do you know what I mean?
Usually I am, but like I said the other week, when I was deflated, and I weren't in a good space, it literally took me
I suppose a little bit of practice as well. Like if you're constantly snapping into that play mode, it's probably easier to slip into. But obviously, if you have Tough day.
Oh, he's stretching.
Yeah, so I just stroke Max's leg.
Stroking.
Yeah, it's probably easier just to like
Get a zoom in on that.
jump in and play. Yeah, so yeah, I'm ready to wrap. Well, I
Yeah,
think we're
so
ready to wrap
that's
this up.
basically been a nice parenting session, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
about parents. So yeah, any parents out there or new to be parents that would like to get involved and give us a chat and just tell us about some of their hopes, fears, and expectations, or if you are not interested in parenting at all and whatever, just some engagement. Just give us a little bit of
Give us
engagement.
a comment.
Just give us a comment here and there, one that we can keep up. Right. So yeah, till next time.
Over and out.
Over
See you
and
later,
out.
guys. Thank you.